So there's a kind of pragmatism required here. Pragmatism is one of my all-time favorite words, because what it means is that we have to take the theory and think about how we can optimize that theory for a benefit that's actually worth having at a cost that's worth incurring. And so in order to approach the pragmatism that we really ought to have within our own businesses, we have to stop thinking about HRO as being about being a high reliability organization, and instead think of it in terms of high reliability operations within the organization as a whole. Not thinking in terms of the entire organization having to meet the criteria of a high reliability entity, but to think about the things that we do in the organization that we want to be or need to have as high reliability. And that can be thought of from a risk perspective. So let's think about risk. Risk traditionally represented in a matrix where we're considering combinations of probabilities and outcomes. And generally they're traffic light colored, where red means no, yellow means oh, and green means go. So no, oh, and go. Now, what we can think of philosophically here is that the line between the green and the yellow can actually be thought of as representing the organization's risk tolerance, meaning that the organization is okay with the level of risk that's below and to the left of this line that's traditionally colored green. Now, this is kind of a reversal of normal thinking about a risk matrix, but what we're actually looking at here in this green area is a population of incidents that the organization has said that it's okay with. One thing that I can suggest to you is to go look at your organization's risk matrix and look at the stuff that's in the green and look at the worst outcome that's in the green. What is in that box that's sticking up at the left-hand side of the green area there? And in many organizations, it's a single fatality. Wait, what? The organization's okay with somebody being killed? That's absolutely outrageous. You can't say that. I don't need to say it though, because most organizations have already said it. Now, what it does, the response to that is often, well, but we've decided that it's an extremely unlikely event. And my retort to that is, yeah, but unlikely doesn't mean won't happen. It just means you're allowed to be surprised if it does happen. It's a bit like low probability events happen all the time. People get struck by lightning. That's very unlikely, but it happens all the time. It's very unlikely that you'll win the lottery, but people do all the time. It's an interesting challenge, but then we almost have to have that in the green. Otherwise, we would never be able to have people driving company vehicles. If you think about it, the probability of one of your folks being killed in a car wreck is low, but it does happen. And you can't say that driving a vehicle, the residual risk of driving a vehicle is anything other than green. Otherwise, you're never going to get anything done. Anyway, there's an interesting phenomenon though, which is that when we do a risk assessment looking ahead at a particular activity, even though there's a remote chance of somebody being killed doing it or seriously injured, we may place it in the green and say, okay, go. However, should that unlikely outcome be actualized, should it actually happen, the organization will go completely nuts. And that's understandable from the kind of human and group dynamics perspective. But it's interesting because it reveals, in a sense, a form of corporate schizophrenia. That we're all right with a risk looking forward, but we're not okay if that risk is actualized. Anyway, when we expand on this thinking a little bit, what we find is that we are essentially saying that the stuff outside of this dividing line between the green and the yellow matters to us. It's significant. It's something that we care about. And the stuff within the green, we've essentially denoted as not significant, and we somewhat care less about that.